everyone who is already a subscriber to the channel. If you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe to the channel so you can see more interviews like the one coming at you right now. This is something I like to refer to as a twofer. Not only is this professional fighter making his first appearance on the show, it's always exciting. We're going to have a first-time guest on the show, but the twofer part comes into the fact that he is just a few weeks away from a professional MMA title fight for 247 Fighting Championships, which is going down on November 8th at Sunny Days Arena at the venue. Very excited to have on Terry the Duke Bartholomew. Duke, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
It's great to have you on. Always excited to have a new guest on the show, like I said. But you've been around for a while in pro MMA, first on this show, but you're 8-6. This will be your 15th pro MMA fight. You might have done some other pro fights, but pro MMA fight. So before we jump in to your big-time fight versus Lucas Seibert, it's got a lot of eyes on this fight. Very exciting. I'm sure we'll talk about that in a little bit. Can you give us a synopsis overview? What got you into MMA and kind of what has your 14 pro fight career so far been like? Just sort of like an overview. I know you're training out of Bowerhouse gym, the MMA gym down in Bowerhouse, but whatever you can kind of summarize, bring us up to speed before we jump in to what will be your 15th pro fight.
Yeah, absolutely. So I came up, started wrestling in middle school, wrestled in high school, went to a Division III college up in Pennsylvania, but I only stuck around there for a year and a half, and I was wrestling through that time. I got out, and it was a bad idea to kind of leave college right after the 2008 meltdown and stuff. But once I got a full-time job, I needed something to do, so I got into doing jiu-jitsu. And that kind of helped me stay in the grappling mindset. Started training, and then when I became a purple belt after a few years, I went ahead and decided I was just going to start fighting. I thought it'd be more fun to do some of the illegal moves they have in jiu-jitsu, right, and MMA wouldn't stop me from doing those. So I started getting into MMA, amateur fights down in Virginia. So I've always been fighting under pro rules my whole career. I've competed in boxing, kickboxing, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, judo, wrestling. I've done a lot of different things, and had a nice little amateur career. I've been off the pro career for a short time, but I'm getting back into it. Took a nice little break, started a family, and I think this is a good fight to come back to.
Well, that's a great summary. Thanks for bringing us up to speed. Yeah. Congrats. Much more important than any fight career is you and your family. Like you said, that's a big time priority. You've been a fighter since 2014 as far as taking fights. And it looks like on your Tapology, you went pro, I believe, in 16, although it might have been 14. Let me just back up. So you went pro in 2016, and there's a name on your pro list. It's your most recent fight back in 2022. So that was right before you took your few years off for the family and everything. You beat a then undefeated Sean Shusher, who was 3-0 at the time. I've seen him fight. He has fought for 247. Very talented guy. I was going to ask you about it anyhow because it's your most recent fight prior to your time away. But talk about taking on a guy with his talent level and also kind of how that fight went. You got a decision win, and this was after quite a few decision losses in a row for you. So what was that? What kind of made that fight work for you 3 years ago when you fought Sean Shusher?
Well, it was a bit of a turnaround fight, pretty short lag time between my last fight and that fight. They were looking for a replacement on the card. I was actually on medical suspension at the time, so I had to clear through all that. Had to make sure that I made the weight to fight him. I tell you, he's a good guy. He's a tough guy for sure. Great striker, great grappler, good wrestling, So I was, I really went out there and respected what he had. Trying to keep my distance on him, make him come to me a little more rather than be a more forward moving fighter. Fought him a lot on the cage, where movement wouldn't become too much of an issue, and where I could grapple and hang on him and weigh on him. Doing a lot of work on his legs and his body, trying to make sure that I can slow down a young tough guy like that. He was a great fight for me.
Yeah, and when we talk about that, you took on a guy who was undefeated, 3-0 in his pro career. We're going to get into you taking on Lucas Steel City Seibert, who's 5-0. When did you start training at Bowerhouse MMA, and what has training there been like? How many years have you been there? And kind of, do you credit that to kind of your most recent win? I'm not quite sure your timeline, so just fill us in. I know you're now representing Bowerhouse, and so I just wanted to kind of get a thought on what's going on at your gym.
Yeah, absolutely. So Bowerhouse MMA started in 2014. I've been here training and teaching and different things since the start. The owner's Chris Bauer. I've been training under him for many, many years now. Let's see, about 17 years of jiu-jitsu, I want to say. It's a gym they put together, wanted to have good boxing, good kickboxing, and good Brazilian jiu-jitsu program. Then the MMA program was added in there, trying to tie everything together. We've had a good little group in here training. Lots of amateur fighters, lots of professional fighters. It's a great gym for anything you want to learn from MMA. Even with the jiu-jitsu crew, everybody's a former wrestler. So we've got our takedowns as well as our grappling down on the ground. And you couldn't ask for a better MMA gym in the area.
Yeah, that's incredible. I know the name because originally, I think the first fighter from your gym I had on the show was Cody Madcat Matthews, who I've stayed in contact a little bit with and had him on the show a couple times. He had a knockout of the year award against, at the time, undefeated Victor Lapari. That was just a huge fight when he got that win. I've had Noah Kiska on the show, and now you. I might have missed one or two others, but it's always fun when I can kind of follow a gym, and that's what I kind of like to do when I can. So, but this all comes down to you coming into enemy territory, which is something Cody Madcat Matthews did when he fought Victor Lapari. That was a very loud crowd for Victor, and you're going to be coming in to fight Lucas Steel City Seibert on November 8th. So talk about the decision to come back to pro MMA. Obviously, you haven't fought since November of 2022. You ended on a good note, taking out Susha like we talked about, And so what made the timing right to come back now? And the two-part question is, why sign on your comeback fight to take on a 5-0 stud who very obviously is looking at the UFC, PFL, he's looking at that next level after this fight. So what are your thoughts on coming out of your layoff now and saying yes to the fight versus Lucas?
Yeah, my family situation settled in. Me and my wife, we own a house. We got three wonderful girls. They're young. They're all under 4 years old, so it's a bit of a juggling thing. But I'm fortunate enough and lucky that I work at a gym like Bowerhouse MMA. I can train often. It works in with my schedule. And I can still make time for my family. And with everything kind of balanced out, getting back into a little bit of competition seemed like a good thing to do. If it wasn't pro MMA, which I really enjoy, it could have been jiu-jitsu. Now getting back into it, I've had to amp things up a little bit, but we're feeling good. Everything's put together right now. And then, going into the Pittsburgh area and fighting up at 247. I don't consider it it's definitely his territory. I wouldn't say it's enemy territory. I was born in Pittsburgh. All of my family lives from down up and down. I believe it's 76 Morgantown, the Pittsburgh right there. I got family right in Pittsburgh. I'm very familiar with the city. I've worked up there time and again doing construction stuff with my uncle. I'm familiar with the city, and going up there to fight a young undefeated guy like Lucas. I know it's going to be tricky. It's going to be tough, but I think it's a good fight for us, even as a comeback.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. And you are not only a professional MMA fighter, you also are a professional coach, trainer, teacher at the gym. So you're constantly analyzing tactics and jujitsu and MMA. So kind of without giving your step-by-step game plan, have you watched some of Lucas's fights? You mentioned being a Division III wrestler in Pennsylvania. I might know the school because I coach track, not wrestling, but I coach track at Waynesburg University. We're in the President Athletic Conference that goes all the way up to Grove City and Westminster. What was your Division III school?
I went to school at Elizabethtown College.
I know Elizabethtown. That's over on what I would call the good side of the state because I'm from Allentown, Pennsylvania originally. So I always say that's the good side of the state. But the locals refer to that as E-Town, I believe. So very cool that you wrestled for them. But Lucas is known for being a walk-on at WU and not necessarily, a Division I wrestler, but not necessarily super high ranked. Worked really, really hard and then has really burst on to the MMA scene, both in amateur undefeated and pro. So what are your expectations of him? And have you watched some of his fights? You mentioned him being a young kind of talented fighter, and you're the savvy veteran. I think this matchup is always important, right? You had him probably when you were younger in your career fighting the veteran, and now you're the veteran fighting the young guy. So what are your thoughts on this unique matchup?
Yeah. I know he's got some wrestling pedigree. And with wrestling pedigree comes some ground game. He looks like he's doing well as a striker as well. Division I walk-on, I think that's great. He definitely has something he likes to favor with that wrestling. Division III, we go in there and we do that wrestling because we love doing it. Okay, yeah. We're not being compensated in any way. All the guys I trained with up at E-Town were great. I just couldn't stick around school much longer. And, MMA's kind of provided that competitive outlet that I lost when I quit going to school. It's been good for me mentally, physically, going up and fighting this tough guy from the Pittsburgh area. I think it's going to be a good test for him as somebody with a little more experience, maybe somebody who has some different looks for him. He's a dangerous fighter. I respect that. I believe I'm more dangerous, though.
And for yourself, obviously very well-rounded in MMA, believing you're more dangerous, would you make a prediction or a thought in how, like a perfect world, how that fight would go November 8th?
In a perfect world, I like fights to be as short as possible. Yeah. Maybe he'll just put his head in the wrong place or some other limb in the wrong place. That'd be nice. Maybe he walks out with his chin up in the air. I don't know.
You don't know.
I'm not taking any bets because what I want to do as a fighter is I want to kind of feel out where we're gonna find the hole in this guy's game. He's obviously going to be game planning for me. I'm game planning for him, and then I'm gonna fall back on my experience level if anything changes in there.
Yeah, that is a great attitude to have. You're definitely like a mental side as the coach and the very experienced fighter. Because as a coach myself, I always say on this show that coaching is its own sport. So you've already talked quite a bit about that fight. It's a pro title fight for the bantamweight weight belt for 247. Lucas is looking at history for 247 because he was previously an amateur champion, and he would be the first ever amateur champ that then became a pro champ for the same 247 promotion. So, there's a lot on the line for him. But when we think about your training, teaching, coaching career, what aspect of teaching MMA, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, whatever you teach, what aspect do you like the most? And what like age range or developmental level do you like coaching the most as far as like for your own coaching journey?
Fine. Well, with my current job at the gym, I'm actually dealing with a lot of the people that come in the door. What I also do is a little bit of swing coaching. So if we need somebody to teach some kickboxing, we need somebody to teach some jiu-jitsu, some boxing. I teach a lot of bag work classes in boxing as well. But I think what I'm doing the most now, most consistently, and having the most fun with right now, I take 5 and 6 year olds and I teach them jujitsu. And the kids are great. And sometimes it's like herding cats. Okay. But, working with them and building them and them starting to understand kind of technique and position. I don't need to teach them flying arm bars or anything like that. Just have them understand that, as a fighter, be the one on top, and I'm having a lot of fun with those young guys and girls.
Yeah, I mean, you're only a few years away from your 3 daughters under the age of 4 being in those classes. Give them a couple years. And that's what I think is really cool about jiu-jitsu. I know some people train Muay Thai and kickboxing. Certainly in Thailand, they train Muay Thai starting around 4 or something like that. But I certainly think jiu-jitsu and wrestling are kind of like a smarter sport to teach little kids. Some people will disagree and go right into striking. I think striking you can run into some issues as far as injuries and stuff when they're that young. They don't really know what they're doing. But I think jiu-jitsu is a great place, and kind of like what karate used to always claim. Back in we're about the same age, and back in the 90s growing up, karate was kind of that thing that the kids went into for self-confidence, things like that. The Karate Kid the original Karate Kid really helped out with that. But I would say, no offense to karate, but I would say jiu-jitsu is a better sport for little kids to learn as far as practical things, particularly self-defense and things that can be used. Obviously, there's value to karate, but that's really cool. So I'm going to hit you with another coaching question.
Yes, sir.
Your favorite basic, I mean, all the skills you teach the little ones are basic, but your favorite basic skill to teach an old person, young person, a newbie? What's your favorite basic skill to teach them that to them is like the first time they've heard of it, but to you is like your favorite thing to explain? For me, running an MMA gym years ago, it was always taking the bag, double hooks in, rear naked choke. Like, to teach people, get 2 hooks in, rear naked choke, makes it simple, easy peasy. Then they think jiu-jitsu is really easy when it's not, but it gives them that boost. So, but that's my own personal. What would be your kind of go-to that you just love teaching basic newbies?
Yeah, I mean, in regards to particular techniques, I mean, there's a lot of different things you could get into there. I want to boil it down even a little further. Okay, is trying to get these young kids to understand very basic concepts that have nothing to do with the particular movement. And this is something, I mean, I'll talk to adults about this same thing. Basics with, back control. Someone's on your back. Okay. If you can get your back to the floor, how's that person on your back? Right. You got to get your back to the floor in order to start recovering, whether it is you're going to build up or turn and face, or at least just get out of that back control. I'm teaching kids and adults for the most part, jiu-jitsu as it was trained classically, and the idea of it, you want to be the person on top. Okay. Always struggle to be the person on top. a great guard and a great sweep, that's all great. It's meant to put you back on top, where gravity is your friend, whether it's actual self-defense or whether it's sport Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and then I teach people too, if you're down underneath, okay, put that opponent back in your guard, put that person back in your guard, utilize your guard. The guard is meant to absorb aggression, okay, and using that guard to absorb aggression and hug that person down. I don't care if it's self-defense or sport. It does a great job of helping dissipate all their energy, wearing them out, and giving you opportunity to escape or submit the person. Just simple concepts that if they just think about it, they don't need to know the perfect step by step for the movement. Okay. And after that, we can start working on the reps to get them that movement. Okay. Big believer in drilling. I think it's important. I also think it's important to take that and work it in situational live and build and trust and be confident in your techniques.
Well, that is perfect. What a great answer. Thanks, Coach. I always say I can talk coach shop talk all day long because it's so fun. And another question, which would even be a longer answer, is which is fun, is you as a coach, now it's figuring out how to explain that the same technique or the same concept to all the different ways people learn. That's what's kind of interesting about being a coach. I know how to coach something, but it's also about figuring out, okay, these kids you're teaching, how do they learn? Because everybody learns differently, even though it's the same concept. So I really appreciate you jumping into that. If you're in the area of where Bowerhouse is, obviously they've got programming starting at 5, going all the way up to adult, as kind of basic as fun, recreational health, all the way up to clearly pro MMA. So just very, very wonderful to be able to have you on and talk about Bowerhouse. Obviously, I want to encourage people that are seeing this, that want to support you, that if they're coming out to the fight in person, of course, to buy tickets either from you or 247fighting.com. Every once in a while, as fights get closer, there are scam posts, scam tags on 247 stuff that's not 247. They don't control that. They do the best to take it down. But the only way to make sure that you're buying legitimate tickets is either directly from you or from 247fighting.com. If they're buying tickets, they can always give you credit on the drop down of what fighter gets credit for the tickets. And I would imagine most of your fans will be watching on the pay-per-view. And this is where I get to say, very excitingly, the 247 Fighting Championship, as a wonderful regional promotion, actually has their own app that you can download, obviously for free, off the App Store on any smart device, including televisions and things like that. That's called 247 Live, and that allows them through there to safely buy the pay-per-view. They will have the option of buying the pay-per-view to just watch you, or also having the option to buy the year subscription to get the whole catalog, which would also allow them to watch Cody Madcat Matthews in every fight that's ever happened for 247. I always want to plug that so that people know the best ways to get tickets, both of them, whether it be 247fighting.com or 247 Live, allow them to give you credit so you get the credit for that. Really appreciate you coming on. This has been Luke Payson for MMA Fancast. November 8th is coming very quickly at the Sunny Days Arena at the venue, 247 MMA at the venue 3 for 247 Fighting Championships, the main event, the Pro Bantamweight Championship of the World for 247 Fighting Championship. Really appreciate one half of the main event coming on today. Terry the Duke Bartholomew. Thanks so much, buddy, for coming on the show.
Thank you very much.